If humanity had a scent, it would be the one of hell. For every moment of human's hope, there is one of pure despair. For every piece of happiness, there is an ocean of sadness. For every reunion we might enjoy, there will be 3,000 goodbyes to come. For every battle, fought with all the bravery we can hold, there will be one where we'll just give up. For every gentle hand we will be willing to give, there will be one we will refuse to hold. For every moment we will allow ourselves to live, there will be even more making us die inside. If humanity had a face, it would be the one of defeat. The many monsters in front of which we surrendered, the doubts that ended up paralyzing us, the words we've never managed to say, the expectations never realized, the potential never explored, the mask and pretenses of age we finally wore, the acceptance of gravity in every part of our life, the things that are wearing us out at every second, every minute, every hour, the never-ending wait before our time is coming. If humanity had a name, it would be the one of nonsense. What should we hope for in a world playing us the most cruel joke that can exist, letting us grasp the concepts of eternity and its limits? What's the point of having so many things to explore if even the time is failing us? What's the point of love if everything is supposed to end? What's the point of kindness if everything is meant to hurt? What is the point of living if we have to cease to exist? What's the point of remembering if we are doomed to forget? Because if humanity had a scent, it would be the one of heaven. For every piece of our inner puzzle that is missing, there is always someone that will help to complete it. For every moment of reality that hurts, there are the comfort of dreams. For every place of terrors, there are the ones of wonders and beauty. For every parcel of ourselves we had to abandon on the way, there are the millions one we discover. If humanity had a face, it would be the one of resilience, the one step we're taking from the moment we had to start again. The taste of rebellion we still have when the battles are all lost. Our tendency to never accept, never surrender. The art that elevates, the connections that transcend. The many travels of our souls. Our capacity to crave for more than the blue of the sky. At every second, every minute, every hour, even if we know that one day our time has to come. If humanity had a name, it would be the one of hope. The one that makes us believe that there are many places we can call home. The one that makes us believe that there are many places we can call love. If humanity was a poem, it would be the one of Henley. For our lights, for our darkness, for our contradictions and our truth, for our battles and our losses, for the many things we will have to endure until the very end, for the many things we'll be able to celebrate before it comes. For the better, for the worst, for our abilities to be the most imperfect creatures, and our surprising moments of grace. Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance I have not winced, nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of chance, my head is bloody, but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me, unafraid. It matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. Welcome on board. You're one of the passengers of Transmission, Episode 8, a podcast about the everyday anti-heroes. Enjoy the journey. When I was a kid, I used to divide the world in 3 categories of people. The ones who liked the figure of Odysseus, pistachio ice cream and dogs. The ones who considered him as a vile character of the war of Troyes, who only swore by chocolate classic flavor and cats. And those who barely care about mythology, heroes, or ice cream. As it took 10 long years to Odysseus to come back home to Ithaca, it took me some to deconstruct this early model of the world. And that's when the story of Odysseus granted me in exchange with many other things. The appreciation that we can have for all the gray areas of human beings. The richness of our ways to frame the world. Or the flavors of ice cream. And the universal and eternal echoes of ancient myth. More than the Iliad, it has been the Odyssey that had the power to capture my mind. From my early readings, in my kids' version of it, that's the sense of extraordinary that I remember. The unequal pleasure of the unknown, from the scary territories of the cannibalistic Lastrygonians to the monstrous appetites of the creatures from the sea, from the wonders of the dangerous siren songs to the transformations from man into pig by the powerful sorcerer Circe. There is only one combination of a kind that could totally obliterate all the sadness contained in a tale of a 10 years wandering, transforming stories of death, loss, mistakes, and weaknesses into a collection of epic adventures. The one that allies the magic of art, storytelling, and a child's mind. One day, I realized how many losses were surrounding Odysseus' path, how many torments he and his men had to endure. Right from the start, their own stupid mistake just pushed them away from their destination. The song of the sirens could not be heard without the risk of getting drowned. And even home for Odysseus, once reached, looked like this place full of enemies and fights and blood. What kind of hell was that trip? I felt bad for my ingenuity. I felt bad for Odysseus. I felt bad for the ice cream, for the guys turned into pigs, or the ones forgetting at some points up to the names, by drinking some equivalent of poison, or who knows what type of Greek LSD it was. But there is this moment where Odysseus says, "What if one of the gods does wreck me out on the wine dark sea? I have a heart that is inured to suffering, and I should steal it to endure that too. For in my day, I have had many bitter and painful experiences in war and on the stormy seas. So let this new disaster come. It only makes one more." Dark corners as much as the shimmering seas of light. The idea of a destination. The loss and the uncertainty of it. The ending of our story as much as the beginning. The new lands, the wonders, the events, unfortunate or not, that life and our choices can provide us with. The mistakes and the moments of bravery. The moment of companionship, as much as the moments of loneliness. In the journey of Odysseus, everything mattered. It's not only in victories and happiness that we are forging our strength. Some might need the expectation of something bigger. Some others, the delight of the insignificance of the instant. And others are sometimes brave enough to face the many shadows, vulnerable enough to know that contrary to gaming, not every monsters, and especially the final one, can be defeated. But, like Odysseus, in the middle of the storm of life, finding their very own ways to create, to learn, to build, to dream, even from the uncertainty of the chaos.
Okay, I think it works in two, I think those stuff, they're connected in a way, because I realized that death was a real thing, and that when people died, they would actually really disappear from Earth, that you would never be able to talk to them ever again, or never be able to see them anymore, really miss them. But it was related to the fact that I realized that in movies, people were not really dying.
To the anti-hero, who showed me that even in the places of terrors, what is there is at least ours. That behind every apparently scary spiders, there is a world of fluffy squirrels. That for every sharp corner of the reality, there are the true bubbles of escape in the shape of movies. That sometimes light needs some shade to be balanced. Or that surviving on cereals could sometimes be an option. The streets of Cork, my second year in Ireland, after Galway, Connemara. A place of rain and wind, creating cemeteries of useless umbrellas. A new accent, the Corkonian one, I could barely grasp, like the one of this nice taxi driver trying to explain to me a bit of the city's history. And me, confused, answering something about weather and sausages. Behind the weather, behind the apparent cold and greyness of the city, that is the warm feeling of finding another home in a country that was so different from mine that I discovered. A new home, where I could mix the codes of my original one. The families of circumstances, made of roomies, colleagues, friends to be. The taste of the too many Murphys, the potatoes, the taste of the garlic bread, the green spaces of Kensale, the improvised house parties. Many questions raised around the local museum of butter. The journeys in the bus 202, the local gigs in the pubs, the improbable plastic boots from pennies, why rice and fries in Chinese dishes, embracing the unknown, the connections, a new sort of DNA, a life of an expatriate that I chose to be mine. First, there is almost this instinctive way to feel that this is quite a nice ground to start from. Feeling at home is something that I felt quite easily with Anton, as we were sharing a view on how we had to decide to live our lives.
To me, the experience of expatriation is actually empowering you as a person to be completely in charge of what is going on in your life and what's happening. You know, it really empowers you in a way that everything that is happening to you is only because of the choices you made. It's really going back to this very basic idea that your life is in your hands. And every time there is something that is troubling you, or when you're depressed, or when you wake up in the morning and you ask the question, why the fuck am I doing here? The only answer, and it's not even if you live abroad that you will get the same answer, but I think that when you live abroad, it becomes clearer. It's what the fuck am I doing here? But the only answer is I'm here because I chose to be here. So if it's not going the way I wish, or if I want something different, then it's just up to you to make it change.
But in this new home, that's not only the comfortable seats of what I was used to or like that I found. In this new place, there was the temple of one of my sacred gods missing, the god that can make me travel through Romania in the search of the perfect papanash cake, the god that turns my quite easygoing mood in a nightmare, for me and others if he's not satisfied, the god that makes me the expert of any local sweet or salty specialty in a foreign country, the god of food.
Obviously, I have to add your love for food that has always been very intriguing to me. Even though you did not share it straight away from the beginning, it's only after a few months or week that I discovered how much you liked food, and it's even a few years actually to understand the impact that could have on your life or even on mine. Yeah, I mean, it's so different from what I am and how I see food and all this kind of stuff that, yeah, it has always been a fascinating aspect of your personality.
It took me indeed a few weeks to tell him that I loved the cereals in shapes of chocolate pillows, but that one bowl per day as a meal was as close as a near-death experience for my person. Today he told me that he will be happy to swallow futuristic nutritional pills instead of eating. I kind of fainted inside. And cherry on the top of the num cake, he revealed that a pillar of what is considered as our cultural food identity was something he could not sincerely enjoy.
Well, I don't like cheese. I don't like wine. So for a French person living abroad, it's very special. But no, I don't like cheese. The ones that are smelling a lot, I don't understand the idea of putting something that smells into your own mouth. I mean, who would do that? I mean, nobody does like, that smells so bad, I'm gonna eat it, except for cheese. And it's something that I really don't understand. I mean, if the smells is repellent, I'm not gonna eat it. So that's the first thing. And with wine, I mean, yeah, when with wine, the thing is that I don't like the taste. I mean, I don't see any interest in the taste, and especially the red one is, I think, in my opinion, is the worst one. Like,
Our common love for art and the pleasure we had in regressive things helped to create bridges between my sacred idol and his convictions. Orgies of candies that tickle the tongue while debating about the non-interest of success in art, the softness of a marshmallow with another viewing of the season 1 of True Detective, my art of scattering tiny crumbles of cookies, and his talent to detect the discovery of the hand of Orlac, going with greasy pizzas I convinced him to eat on his bed, even if it was greasy, even if he had to wash his hands 78 times in the process, because, come on, it was pizza.
well, how can I put it? I mean, sweets. I have a sweet tooth. I like sweets. So yeah, I like candies and I love this kind of shit. Even though I'm trying my best to stay away from it, it's really something that I love. I think it's the best thing you can eat in terms of taste, but it's the worst shit you can eat in terms of health. So that's the drawback to it. And pizzas, I think pizzas should be the basic basis for any food, any lunch. I mean, there is everything in one, and it's probably because I'm a ninja turtle inside. But pizzas, I always love pizzas. It's simple. It's efficient. It tastes good. You don't need more than a pizza.
In him, I found the echo of my inner child, the one with the aspirations I will never think about abandoning. The one dreaming in her book, her writing, her song about a cake. With him, I never felt that sometimes, melting in the comfort of my world for hours, forgetting the rest of the world without talking, even if we were in the same room together, was an offense. Neither would have he considered that editing a video project of his while I was gently snoring would be a problem. With him, and most of the time, I was able to make abstraction of the norms, the chaos, the opinions, the exterior world. With him, defying gravity could be just like another child's play.
You've learned from me that you can survive just with cereals. And you've also learned what the Kuleshov effect is and who Tupac is. From you, I've learned that some people can be really grumpy if they don't eat every 2 hours. Who Alison Mossart is, and Morrissey. And I discovered that I could share my love for true crime content with someone outside of my inner circle of friends. I do think that we appreciate each other because we've always been sharing a lot together, whether it could be art, music, cinema, um, literature, and as well as life experiences, point of views on different topics. And I think that we've always been very receptive also to what the other had to say. and it created a very interesting alchemy regarding the discussion we could have, and in my case, the things that I could take away from those discussions.
But in Anton, I recognized as well the edges, the things that were not mine. His ability to carry the storm in him, to see the world in its most unwelcoming and ugly aspects, and to do his best to walk through it.
During my teenage years, I got the confirmation that adulthood was not something easy. I also discovered nihilism and what it meant, and that life was complicated and that a lot of stuff was not worth fighting for. But at the same time, you have to fill that void. That void is being the length that you will spend on this earth or in your life, and that you have to fill it. And you can look at it in two ways. You can see the negative way and say that there is nothing worth being done to fill that void, and the idea would be to kill yourself right away instead of waiting. But the other way to look at it is to say that even if everything is shit and if nothing makes sense and if it has no value to do it, at least it has value to you, and it can help you to grow, blossom, be a better person, understand things from a different perspective and reflect on them.
With him, I have loved to explore this underworld, these movies in black and white of ordinary killers, the ones of anti-heroes with all their imperfections, their weirdness, the ones as well that would challenge my boundaries, not only within the story itself, but in the aesthetic, exposing all the unexpected beauty that could be found in the most unusual places.
I like wacky stuff. I like things that are weird. I like things that are dark. I like things that are gloomy when you don't really understand what is going on. Actually, these days, I'm really asking myself if I don't have a goth part hidden inside of my of me, because when I look at the things that I like and the music that I listen to, the kind of movies and the way I see life, sometimes I'm like, maybe actually I'm more goth than I think. Maybe I should dress in black all the time. It's almost already something. But with the makeup, like really white, and smoking cigarette, and just saying that life is shit, and reading Edgar Allan Poe, maybe I should start doing that a bit more.
In his love for cinema, in the movies that marked his childhood, I could see the one kid who did not accept no as an answer. I could see the kid who later on will embark on his very own creative and life adventures, because he had decided so. I could see the kid who was not afraid to explore the gray areas, to question of the ordinary monsters and what is behind the things that we're not supposed to dig into.
It's actually a movie that I couldn't watch when I was a kid that really aroused my curiosity. It was A Clockwork Orange, and I think so. I was quite young, because if I remember correctly, back then it was VHS, and it was like 4 hours. I think you could record up to 4 hours. So most of the time we had 2 movies recorded on each VHS. If I'm not mistaken, I think the first one was Big Trouble in Little China, and the second one was A Clockwork Orange. I remember being really intrigued because I couldn't watch it. My parent told me, you can't watch it, it's too violent, you're too young. And I remember that I was like, okay, when I would be old enough, it's the first movie that I would watch. And that's what I did. And I was really surprised because I didn't think that the movie, well, I didn't feel that the movie was actually that violent when I watched it. And I was older. But after discussing it with my parents and after making some research about it and studying it as well later on in my studies, I understood and I could grasp the whole problem that this movie was bringing with it. And yeah, so it's funny because it's actually a movie that I couldn't watch, that I'm quoting now, but it had such an impact and it created such a myth around it that it created this vivid memory.
The girl that could barely say something when someone was walking on her feet. The girl that could see unicorns in every monsters around her. The girl that was bumping into things, hurting each time because of the corner of the table, because the world wasn't fair, because the people were so hard to love, found this safe place. This safe place where she could acknowledge that monsters were just sometimes monsters, even though she would still be willing to try to pet them. This safe place where a voice that asked to be heard, to express itself, loudly if it's needed, could be legitimate, even though cakes and joy had to be remembered.
Okay, so a little bit of trivia. It's true that my friends, my close friends, tend to call me Bourdon because I'm someone that is complaining about a lot of stuff a lot. But I have to say that compared to my father, for example, I'm really like Buddha. I'm Zen as Buddha, to be honest, compared to my father. It's crazy how. But anyway, in my case, I think that my short temper, my strong temper, let's say, is a strength because I think it's a good way to screen people, to make a screening out of people when I meet them or when they are around me. Also, I think that complaining and being able to say when something doesn't work or when you don't like something is important. Of course, it's also important to tell when things are good. I think that we tend to forget about that. And I think that my strong temper, no, I think it's a strength, even though sometimes it can have drawbacks. And it's true that some people may get annoyed very quickly, especially when they know me very well on certain subject, because they know that I will have that I will reply very strongly to something, even though it's not necessary. I can understand that sometimes it requires a bit of patience to deal with me, but in general, and I mean, in my opinion, it's more of a strength. Being able to tell when something is not working or when I don't like something, or just express my own point of view, I think it's a strength. So I guess we could say, instead of a strong temper or short temper, maybe a strong personality. That would be a nice way to put it. Yeah.
In this safe place, I found one of the answers that I was seeking. A sort of different mirror that told me that it's okay not to belong to something. And it's even a strength when you do so without even trying hard. There is no need of cutting all your own branches to fit in a skin that will match the other's path, to the risk of not recognizing yourself at some point. It's okay to go over the edges if it's only who you are.
In my case, I never felt that I belonged to something or somewhere, something like that. So I always felt that I didn't belong to anything, that I was always kind of an outsider, or yeah, an outsider. And that's also, I guess that's why I have the group of friends that I have today. And I also I am also sure that is the reason why I'm living abroad, because the fact that living abroad is actually the ultimate level of not belonging to anything. And I really like that aspect of living in this kind of gray area where you don't belong to the place you're coming from and you don't belong to the place where you are. And I think that it's a very good way to empower yourself regarding the decision that you make.
Up to even being in agreement with this statement in the most ordinary things of your life.
I wear my clothes and I choose my clothes like you would do in an RPG game. It's like, I choose this piece because it gives me +3 charisma. I choose this one because it gives me +10 confidence. It's like I'm wearing my clothes as an armor. It's like, I mean, I'm more interested in clothes than in fashion. I think it would always be more interesting to see someone with this singularity of wearing something that no one else would wear, or not everyone, rather than just being fashionable because it's fake. If you're just fashionable, you're fake. You don't like anything. You're just following a trend. I remember I used to wear some Bape stash shoes that were like pink, white and pink, with this very glossy effect on them. The top needed to match. So I was wearing a pink t-shirt. I don't remember what the brand was. Maybe it was Six Pack or something like that. And the color matched perfectly, the top and the shoes. And I remember that I've been called gay sometimes while walking in the street in France for no obvious reason. Well, I was wearing pink. Apparently, it's only for gays. So that's how it is. I don't think that I was like daring or daunting what I was wearing. I think it was just that I was paying more attention to details such as colors, color matching than other people.
In his world, friends were more than friends. They were these people linked to the core of your childhood, where the things that would be the passions of your adult version were starting to get anchored.
I think that if I had to pick a movie that would embody my childhood, that would be Big Trouble in Little China. For various reasons. The first one is because it's a movie that I've watched 100 times, but really a lot. It's also a movie that Nalt watched a lot when he was young, which means it's something that we share together. We watch the movie on a regular basis together. He also offered me the board game, for example, for Christmas. Yeah, definitely the Big Trouble in Little China, because it's kind of a wacky movie. I don't know if it's probably not the best from Carpenter. It has everything to be a very good action movie, but it has also a lot of aspects that actually make this movie something different. The idea is that when we were younger with Nalk, we had this tradition among the little group that we were to watch Predator for every birthday that were basically hosted at Nalk's place. And so we were basically munching the whole afternoon, eating shit, cookies and stuff like that, and watching the movie. After watching the movie, we would probably play Predator. So most of the time, Nalk was the bad guy, the Predator, the alien, or stuff like that, and we were the guy trying to kill him, even though he was more chasing us. And we're playing in his backyard with plastic guns and,
With Anton, I rediscovered through his eyes how friendships that we are holding close are the best fortresses to anything that could happen. They were this little army, closer to soulmates than what any other human being could be, defying the norms, the enigmatic rules that say that once our costumes of adults are worn, friends should have no place in our plans.
The relationship I have with the guys is very, very special. I guess that not a lot of human beings will ever experience that. It's like pushing friendship to a higher level, to something that has never been experienced before, I guess. When I look at how it started and how people looked at us, and the fact that we always walked that straight line that brought us where we are now, living all together, working all together, having side projects all together, and being able to help each other in certain situations and things like that. I think that what it brought me is a safe space where I can really be myself and I will not be judged, and I can cover any of the topics of my life or even of who I am. And those people, they know me so well that sometimes I don't even need to go really deep for them to understand what's going on. They are open-minded enough to accept the person that I am and to accept the decision that I can make. And yeah, I think that's it.
With Anton, we had our odyssey of almost 9 years, searching, digging, perfect and imperfect in so many ways, independent companion of both misfortunes and brighter days. From all the energy of our unusual bubble, I gained confidence in raising my voice in front of some of the troubling creatures of my life, the fierce, the most hidden ones, as well as the most familiar. Even in the most unforgiving winds, even in the hardships of adulthood, I could share with him the vision of my personal Ithaca and all the things I wanted to see before reaching it, even if it meant that we would have to take our own roads to do so. Together, we have seen the sea monsters, the unknown landscapes, the beauty, the terrors, and even experienced the legendary sound of the sirens.
Okay, so this one is not easy because I have so many. I mean, we could tell so many different what the fuck moment that we shared together, from that wedding in Warsaw to the next day in Bucharest when I puked all night. It was the first time that I was seeing Mara's mom. It was super nice. Or when we got our car stuck in Lanzarote, for example, or I don't know, the last awkward event, the first time you fainted to give food to squirrels so they would come to see you in Hyde Park, and how happy you were when one of them touched your hand. But I guess that there is one that doesn't only involve you, but you were part of it. And the way you reacted to it was actually quite funny. Okay, so we were in Ireland and we went for, I think, a party in the pavilion. Matador was playing, if I remember correctly. And after that, we came back to our place and we had an after party and we were hammered, all of us. And the alarm went off, in the fire alarm. The alarm was blaring so hard, it was like really, at the end you could just hit your head against the wall because it was horrible. And I remember that in this panic and in this stress, you fell asleep. So you managed to fall asleep even though the alarm was blaring. Like, it was so loud and so high pitched that you could actually lose balance when you were close to it, and you slept.
I know that his final boss is the same one that he faced as a child, as a teenager, and as the adult that he is. I know that all the lights, all the pizzas, all the cakes, all the friendship, all the love won't ever be enough to scare this one away.
So my biggest fear is to get old, and my biggest hope in life is to not get old. So you see, it's kind of a problem because obviously no one can escape from that.
But I know that in between, for him, there will always be this craving for something more than the blue of the sky. even if it means that this one has to be painted with the darkest shades. I know that for him there will be his own castle, built in the sky or in the sand, through creation, with his own hands. And, as Odysseus, in the most impressive raging storms, his own voice might be the best rock that he can use.
So if I had to give an advice to myself, for my future self, it would probably be move your ass because you have shitload of work to do. Don't be lazy, you fucking twat.
I am Émilie Autubert. You've just listened to Transmission, Episode 8, a self-produced podcast available on all your favorite podcast platforms and on the website l'annéedupangolin.com. In May, Transmission will reach the half of its first season. You have shared this journey until then, and I can only thank you for that. For this occasion, it's with special episodes in French and English that our anti-heroes and their ordinary superpowers will be celebrated. The ones making the universe this place where we can recognize ourselves in all of our imperfections. You will then be able to listen to the episode 9 in French on the 14th of May and the episode 10 in English on the 28th of May. In the meantime, I will take advantage of this little break to keep on laughing, connecting, getting moved, and surprised. Take care of yourself.